We're in a different spot this time.
All right, here we go. Attention, everybody. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further ado, it's that time again. It's the happy hour with your hosts, Dr. Paul and his lovely wife, Nancy Collins. And their guests, well, you'll just have to wait and see. So, here you go. Take it away, Dr. Paul.
Oh, well, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday morning. Comes around this same time every week.
I bet people would
Isn't that
make a
something?
bet and know exactly what Paul Collins was going to say at the beginning of the show.
Well, after all, it's Friday, and it comes around the same time every week. And this is the Happy Hour broadcast with old Dr. Paul and sweet little Miss Nancy. Welcome to this wonderful hour. We had new theme music today. Came as a surprise, but shouldn't have been too much of a surprise since the circus is coming to town. In the meantime, and it's always coming to town somewhere. In the meantime, hello, Shirley Simpson, my first secretary, way up there in St. Joe, Joetown, town of Pony Express, and where Jesse James was shot and killed by that dirty little coward who shot Mr. Howard and laid poor Jesse in his grave. And hello, Jerry Chambers, Chesterfield, Missouri, teenager in my church in St. Joe, now a retired school administrator. Time marches on, Mary, time marches on.
Why are you looking at me for that? I'm just curious.
And hello to the folks in Texas, including Judy Nickel down there in Bryant, Texas. And hello, Jim and Pam Whining, wherever you are.
Hi, Jim.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yes.
Wherever you are.
Somewhere warm.
Somewhere warm, hopefully.
Well, that could be in front of a fireplace. We're not going to say where he is. There's fireplaces. I had a guest yesterday, Nancy and I did, and we kept him warm, putting him in front of our fireplace. Worked out real good. Anyway, folks, this is the happy hour, as you can tell, but we'll deal with some very interesting things today because we have some interesting guests. We have Mary Secunda and her son, Josh Secunda. Now, before I get to them, Nancy, I want to remind people that we're over the line now into 2020. Last October, there was a telethon done by Acts Media Group, and some folks gave some money to help Acts Ministry with the Acts Media Group progress and do some more work. Now that we're in a new year, I want to start it early. I'm going to start early because if we have more money to operate with up front, it certainly helps as we go along rather than trying to play catch up later. Folks, this is a great opportunity, reaching thousands of people all over the United States and the world, and we're doing it, serving where needed, doing the right thing, and promoting unity in Christ through the Holy Spirit. Now, with that having been said, folks, you can go online and find out how to send a check or how to do a credit card or whatever, and let's have some significant inflow. Most of the time it's all outgo, operating on a very, very, very small budget, and yet reaching the world for Jesus Christ. And low profile. So low profile, sometimes we're flying so far under the clouds that the clouds are like ground fog, and we're still under it. Anyway, now then, Mary, I'm not going to talk to you very much today.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to your son. Josh, you have finished high school early.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
I graduated early in December. In my first 3 years of high school, I had 23 and a half credits, and I only needed 25 to graduate. So I just busted out the classes that I needed before the end of the semester.
Now, that's something Pam Whining would understand since she
Yeah.
spent a lifetime teaching school. She would
Yeah.
understand that. I spent a lifetime going to school. Anyway, you actually finished up last month then.
Yeah.
It's December. Okay,
Oh,
now
man.
you will walk with your class when they have their formal graduation, what, May or June? Something
Yes,
like that.
May 7th is our graduation date.
Now, you've done a couple of pretty significant things here recently. One, you just came back from a cruise, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What cruise were you on? Where did you go?
I was on the Carnival Panorama, And
Ooh.
I went to Mazatlan, Cabo, and I think it was St. Vincent as the third one.
Wow.
Okay. Now, did you have to have a passport for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to keep all, this is going to be an educational time, folks, on the happy hour. Very educational. And we're going to get an education through the words of a young man, Josh Secunda. Josh, you also had a trip before that. You went to Canada, right?
Yes.
Where in Canada?
I was in Black Falls, Canada, about an hour north of Calgary in Alberta.
All right. What was the purpose of the trip?
I was going there to see my girlfriend. My girlfriend goes to college up there. She's going to cosmetology school, and I make trips up there every once in a while for us to be able to see each other. And I was there for her birthday, for Christmas, for all kinds of stuff. So,
I'm chuckling, folks, because how old are you now, Josh?
18.
18. When I was 18,
Oh boy, I don't want to go back to what I was.
I had a 41 Ford business coupe, V8, 3 on the column, if you didn't count reverse. If you counted reverse, there was 4 on the column, and I couldn't hardly go across Moberly, town of 12,000. Not because the vehicle wasn't able, but took gasoline to get there. I remember I was sitting in class one day, and I realized that I owed Albert Trusty of the Shell gas station a gas bill, $6.50. I'm thinking, oh, where in the world am I going to get $6.50 to pay my gasoline bill? Because in those days we could run a little charge account, you know. Now it's a different world, isn't it, Mary?
It is. I remember driving a Delta 88 454 4-barrel. I was telling him my engine was about the size of our couch. And we would, I mean, you'd no sooner fill that car with gas and you were at half a tank just driving off the lot, you know. Oh,
Starting the
was just
car.
off. Yeah, started the car and it went down a quarter of a tank, and it was just, I mean, it was a little fun, but that's, you know.
Josh,
hit
how
the-
long have you had a car?
I've been driving 2 years.
And I noticed you pulled a little switcheroo with Mama, didn't you, on the cars?
Yes.
How did you work that?
Well, when I had my first car, I had a 2002 Saturn, and I was driving that for a little bit, but the weather got really cold, and I was in Logan, Rogersville, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, my car broke down out there.
Oh,
Through a tie rod.
So I, luckily I was about a mile and a half away from my friend Tim's house, so we walked back up to his house and we were taken care of and all that. But after that, my grandpa was nice enough to gift me his Chrysler 200 Sport, and my mom had said that she didn't want me driving such a powerful car before I graduated from high school.
When you first started to drive, thinking of him,
Heavy foot, maybe.
A little bit of a lead foot. But I took my time with it. I drove
he's a good driver.
an Altima, a 2014 Altima for a year and a half, and I just got the Chrysler a couple weeks ago, and luckily I already have to get an alternator changed.
Yeah, I gave it to him just in time.
So it's currently not working. However, I do
You're
own it.
welcome.
I get to take pictures next to it.
All
A
right.
lot of selfies.
The adventures of a young man and his vehicles. Now, I understand, according to the neighborhood word,
Oh, Lord, this guy's
that,
good.
that you're gonna move to Canada for a while.
Yes, I'm moving to Canada in May, hopefully around the middle of May, and I want to go to college up there. I've already looked at Red Deer College, which is about a half an hour away from Black Falls, where she lives. And I want to go for a business administration bachelor's degree. It's going to be a 4-year degree. It's going to have a very wide variety of fields that I can go into, and it's going to set me up really well. And also through that college, it's going to give me the university education. So it's university curriculum taught at the community college. So I'll have university credits, and it's only $4,100 a year in tuition.
All right, I was,
Wow.
Nancy, I was wondering, you know,
Not that he's researched it.
I remember when there were a lot of young men moving to Canada, but it was because of the Vietnam War and the draft.
Yeah.
We don't have a draft now, and we're not in the Vietnam thing. We're in
He's
other
dodging
things,
his parents and getting with the girlfriend is what he's doing.
Yeah.
How
That's
did
the
you
dodge.
know?
But he's staying with family. We're very fortunate that he has cousins up there, and so he'll be living with cousins.
That's awesome.
You, Josh, you're obviously a good student. We'll come back to that, but you were also an athlete in high school. You did a lot of sports, didn't you?
Yeah,
What was your favorite sport?
definitely got to be football.
Football.
Football was a huge passion to me. It brought me out of a really bad place that I was in middle school. I was going through some tough times. I had obesity problems. I was getting bullied a lot, but football gave me the opportunity to be able to work out, be able to meet new people, try new things, and it ended up actually bringing me into multiple different sports in basketball, wrestling, track and field. If it weren't for football, I don't think I would have been in any other sport.
I remember seeing you and your buddies throw football in the street by our house many, many, many times. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, that football had to be retrieved out of our backyard.
Maybe a couple of basketballs too.
Once
And
every
some
10,
basketball. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's sort of sad, and remember this, is that we don't see you throwing the football anymore. It's like, hey, I guess you've grown up, Josh.
Well, I don't
Man.
think that I'm grown up yet. I've just been really, really, really busy with everything that's came to. I'm either in Canada or I'm on a
Yeah.
cruise.
Yeah.
What a sad life for him, really.
It's terrible.
It's just been awful for him.
It's a travesty. You should all feel bad.
Yes, yeah.
When-
Surely we could set up a charity for Josh.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow.
Do
For
a
the
go-
poor and forlorn.
Do a GoFundMe.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was his age, my thing was, would somebody please beat me today rather than send me to work?
Right? Do I have to go?
Oh,
Yes.
something else. It was something else. Josh, the president of Acts Ministry, Jim Wining, Dr. Wining, played football.
Oh,
He played
yeah.
football in high school, and in college he played for Bear Bryant, Alabama. How about that? Tight end.
Nice.
Guys that get hit a lot.
He's got the knees to
Oh,
prove
yeah.
it, too. I think he's got screws in several
got-
places in each knee.
Yeah, he's got pins, like 6 pins in both knees.
Yeah.
What position did you play?
I have a wide spectrum. I played running back. I played kicker, defensive line, linebacker, offensive line. I went in at wide receiver for a little bit. I had one catch for 5 yards, and I played at quarterback a little bit. I played a little bit of quarterback in 8th grade. Just almost every position except for
I
defensive
have a
back.
great football story about Josh. You were a freshman, and the announcer kept saying Secunda, and the tackle was by, Josh Secunda, and I got tired of it. So I went up and knocked on the door of the announcer, and there was sort of a dead silence. No announcing going on. And finally I knocked again, and he came out and looked at me, and I said, "The last name is Secunda." I said, "I just thought you ought to know because you're going to be saying it a lot."
Oh,
And he
proud
said,
mama.
"Okay." And off he went, and then the rest of the game he just would say, "No, your number." He would never say your name.
Was that Kickapoo? Because
No, it wasn't.
Kickapoo my freshman year I got like 17 tackles.
This was a 15 tackle game. I think it was Parkview, if I remember
That-
correctly. But anyway, it was very funny.
My favorite football story involves me, moi. By the way, hello,
Myself.
all of our friends in France and in Germany and all over Missouri.
Pakistan.
Huh?
Pakistan.
Pakistan, South
Parlez-vous
America.
français?
Huh?
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Parlez-vous français?
Parlez-vous français? Comment allez-vous? Il est très bonjour aujourd'hui, n'est-ce pas?
Ah, bien.
Now,
Get your
having
feet
said
up.
that, let me tell you my football story. I was in the ministry, but on the side, I was doing some radio work,
Oh, yeah.
and I was doing color commentary on sports for a couple of radio stations, and we set up a van at the end of the football field in a little town up north Missouri, and we put the antenna way up there, and we're standing on top of this van platform. The antenna's way up there, so we could shoot the signal back to the station, run it through the board, and then shoot it out to the big tower to put it out. So we're live, and I'm holding the play charts, defense in one hand, offense in the other, with numbers. And the guy that's supposed to call the game, we have cold wind coming out of the north, snow, and it's cold.
Gosh.
And the guy that's supposed to call the game to have the opening kickoff, and he's still talking about the weather. He says, Paul, boy, this is really some kind of weather. I said, yes, it is. Well, I don't know if it's going to warm up or not. I don't think so either. In the meantime, they had the first running play. They get ready. They have the second running play. And then he says, now, with the play-by-play, here's Paul Collins, and handed me the microphone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was how I broke in. So I'm calling this game, and when I get back to the station, the owner of the station is waiting for me. He said, Paul, we're radio, not television. And he said, parents like to hear the name of their kid called. They don't want their kid just referred to as a number. I was just using numbers like it was a television show. I learned a lot about sports. I did some sportscasting after
Parents
that.
do like
and
that.
Did it right. But you have to learn somewhere, don't you?
You do.
Play football, you have to take your hits. What do you think we're going to learn? By the way, folks, this is time-stamped. If you see this next week or next month, it's okay. Enjoy it anyway, because I'm going to ask the big question, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Here it is.
I think it's a pretty even chance. Both of them have a pretty even shot, but I think that the Chiefs are going to end up winning it.
I think it's Chiefs by 3. Now, you can say you heard it right here. Chiefs by 3. Okay. Now, let's get back to some other serious stuff here. Besides sports, what else did you do in high school?
I was in debate. I am a 15-time trophy winner, ranging all the way from 6th place to 1st place. I've competed in policy debate, in HI, humorous interpretation, LD, Lincoln Douglas, and ironically, I've also competed in radio.
Well, how about that?
And DECA. You did DECA, too.
Yes, DECA is a marketing group and association that's all around the United States. It has to do with improving and increasing people's abilities on the marketing and business aspects. I was in business operation research, and I had just randomly got thrown into DECA. I was taking a marketing class, and I had no idea what DECA was, and then my teacher ran over and said, hey, we've got 2 spots open for the next tournament. It's in a week and a half. You're going, you have to write a 15-page business operation paper. So I'm freaking out, but I buckled down, and I ended up getting 2nd at districts, and I competed at the state level in that field.
Wonderful. That's a great record. Well, Nancy, we sat over there on our deck, or especially I did, and watched Josh and his friends grow up in,
I know.
in their
and
driveway.
they're all grown up. I mean, there's no more football. There's no, gosh.
Basketball's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about time for us to get a new neighbor over there that has little kids, don't you?
There'll
Yeah.
be no grandchildren for a while.
That would be correct.
All right, we need to take a little break here, and I'm going to do it since Matt's not available. I want to tell you that we can't be here without the courtesy of Axe Ministry and Axe Media Group, and especially naturalsolutionsstore.bz. So go online to Natural Solutions, and that's plural, store.b as in boy, z as in zebra. Check out all the natural supplements. Natural supplements are very popular these days. Nancy and I, we watch a lot of TV. There's a whole lot of programs about natural supplements, naturopathic health, etc. And we know that our food supply is suffering as far as the nutritional value of our food. It's not like when my mom raised a garden when I was a kid. It's not that way now. So folks, you need a little help in your diet. You need a little help with your nutrition. You'll find everything that you need that we know of right there at naturalsolutionsstore.bz. You can go online, find it there, or go through axmediagroup.com and find it there. One way or the other, you'll be blessed. Natural Solutions Store will be blessed. Axe Ministry will be blessed. So put your shoulder to the wheel and take charge of your health and do something about it. Now then, having said that, we come back to our guest, Nancy. And Nancy, you and I, we've been living where we live now close to 20 years.
Yeah.
We've seen some things going on around the neighborhood and so forth, but probably one of the real joys and delights has been to watch young people grow up right there across the street from us.
I know. That's Josh.
Yeah, Josh.
I mean, man.
Yeah. How many did you have hanging out over there from time to time? It seemed primarily they were the same ones, I think, but always you had half a dozen like hanging out
Yeah,
over there.
I always had a bunch of people over. My childhood best friend was Riley. He was the kid with really long hair.
Uh-huh.
And since 8th grade from now on, my best friend has been Artie.
Artie's great.
Arthel
So's Riley.
Mercado. He plays basketball over at Central. He's a great guy. He's
6'5".
got a great opportunity to make it really far in a lot of
He's
different
gonna do
places.
I tell you.
Good.
Whoa.
Brilliant young man.
Whoa.
And you had some girls over there in the driveway playing basketball too.
Oh yeah. It doesn't matter who you are, how tall you are, you could still shoot a basketball.
It's true.
In December when I was in Canada, my girlfriend and I went to the local basketball court and we were shooting basketballs at the gym as a date. It doesn't matter.
Date night at the gym.
Josh, I have to tell you, I used to sit up on our deck. Our deck, folks, is second level. I'd sit up there and I'd watch Josh and his buddies playing basketball, and I'm thinking, I need to go over there and show those boys how to shoot a basketball. I mean,
Practice makes perfect, but it took years of practice.
very few of the balls ever went through the hoop, and I can see their hands going to one side. I'm sitting there thinking, now, boys, straight ahead, straight. They go that way. They missed more shots,
shots
by far
crooked.
than they made.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
they
true.
they persevered.
They did, and they're much better now. They're now playing for Dan Kenny. They have Dan Kenny has a basketball team, and they play for Dan Kenny,
Well, now
independent team.
our folks in Germany have no idea who Dan Kenny is.
Oh, well, I don't know who he is, but I know he's got a park in Springfield, Missouri, so
It's a
we've got
park.
that going for us.
There's a park named after him.
That's right.
I was on a team. It was a local team that my friends and I came up with. The name of it was Treyway. And we went to St. Louis, and we actually competed in a tournament. We ended up losing the tournament by 3 points in the last game. But we were talking about going on a couple more tournaments. I am busy because of work and school and prepping for moving. But my team, I would have a roster spot, but my team should be going to the Salsa Bowl up here in about a month or two, and that tournament is huge. For example, I don't know if you know who he is, but Jason Tatum, who plays for the Boston Celtics, competed at that tournament at his highest level.
No, my memories go back to Bob Cousy and the Boston Celtics. Little playmaker.
Speaking of which, we should definitely take a minute to think about Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, folks, we need to pray for Kobe Bryant's family
Yes.
and the families of all the other the people that were lost on that in that helicopter crash. That was such a tragic thing. So tragic.
tragic.
Yes. And shocking to say the least. To say the least. Well, Josh, I want to get back to this this Canadian thing. What caused you to think about a career in business?
I've always been interested in business things. My parents were both always trying to figure out how to make money when I was growing up, and they were both they're both real estate agents. They've both always been able to make things work, and I've just grown up kind of in their shadow. I've always gone to the office with them, sat down. I interned for around 150 to 200 hours at my dad's company to be able to learn more about the business. I've taken every marketing and or business class that high school has to offer and the extended versions, and I feel like it's a very vague degree that you can get because it has a lot of different places that you can go into.
All right. Now, your grandfather, your on your mother's side, her dad, was not a businessman.
No, he's a professor of medieval French and a lawyer.
Say,
Okay, I'm setting this up, folks. You can see what I'm doing here. I mean, we have a grandfather who was professor of what?
Professor of medieval French and a lawyer, and he would translate French medieval law into English.
Okay.
And he taught at the university for 42 years of Minnesota.
Which university?
University of Minnesota.
Oh, of course. Like, like what other university? Well, there's the University of Missouri. There's Missouri State University. There's Iowa University. There's a whole lot of
There's
universities.
not an Iowa University, really?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And there's not only that, but there's Iowa State, too.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll have to tell Minnesota.
And
That's
there's-
our rival, you know.
I think it's very interesting, though, that
That's awesome. No,
that
they
your-
have a great university there, actually.
Your dad, quite a scholar.
Yes.
It hasn't been all that many months ago when you went with your dad to Ireland, and he presented some academic papers, did he not?
We went to England and Scotland,
Oh.
and at Exeter University in England, he presented a paper. He is one of the top 5 medievalists in the country.
Wow.
And they asked him, and this is a group of medievalists, so you can imagine I sat there and, you know, hello. What would
Well-
you like to know about the real estate market in the United States?
In other, in other
Great
wo-
group of people.
in-
Amazing.
In other words, when it comes to French medieval history and law, you don't want to be jousting with her dad.
Oh, yeah. Well, surely you jest. You cannot travel with somebody better than my father because we have been all over, and I know he knows the history of all of it, and so he can explain to you why, for example, on Notre Dame in France, there's gargoyles on the top. What's that about? He will explain why on the front of churches there are the kings and queens and what they represent, and why in England, for example, they bury the dead inside the church and the cathedrals.
Yes.
Why do they do that? How much does that? I mean, just amazing information that you just wouldn't even think of.
Yeah.
But I would say Scotland was probably my favorite. Edinburgh
My
was
roots go
amazing.
back to Scotland, 1602, in our family tree, that far back. So there's a whole lot of Scot in me, and but we also had a trace of French because the Pagets in Scotland were from France, and they were Paget in France. So on my mother's side, they were Pagets, and otherwise, the Collinses went back and tied into the Rutherford family, and all that went back
Oh,
to
yeah, Scotland.
Yeah, sure enough. Now then, Josh, with this business thing, you obviously you had exposure on both sides of the fence. You had the academic, extremely academic situation with your grandfather. I mean, after all,
And grandmother, too. She's an art historian.
Yeah. So you had all that, and then on the other side, you had this very practical thing about business. And I find that very, very interesting because I've always just sort of in my mind straddled the fence because I was a pre-med student, and then I switched to theology because pre-theology, which meant then I ended up with a major in philosophy and a minor in history and a minor in chemistry. And after I graduated from college, I thought, how do you make a living as a philosopher? And so I went back.
So you thought about it.
Yeah, that's it. Then I went back to college and took the education courses. So if I ever became desperate, I could teach school. And then after that, I went to seminary, 90 graduate hours of seminary. And the philosophy background stood me in good stead for the little bit of theology that I studied. But I used to wonder, as a newbie in seminary, when I'd walk down the hallway where they had the faculty offices, when I would pass the office of the guy who was head of all the theology stuff, he had gargoyles up over his doorway, and I used to wonder about those, so it caused me to look into the gargoyles. Your dad, of course, would be an expert on that, and on church architecture. And in a class that I had called The Life and Thought of the Church, a whole lot of it was church architecture. But we had a course in church administration, which was really business administration. And so I always had that in my mind, about the business of things. Because after all, the church as an organization, as an institution, is big business. And behind the scenes of a large church or a denomination, there's a whole cadre of people who are involved in the business operations of things.
Yeah.
So what do you plan on doing with business?
I one day want to go into the real estate business, same as my mom. I've just had so much experience with it, always been around, so it makes me feel comfortable and at home, and I feel like it would be good to be able to continue that. However, I have been warned, and it's been drilled and instilled in my head that young real estate agents don't make it. So I should find something in the meantime to be able to.
Wait until you get old like your mom.
Exactly.
Yep.
The average age of a realtor is 57.
Is what?
57.
5'7".
So my thought is that his sphere of influence, which is what realtors think about, who are my family, who are my friends, how do I meet people, that kind of thing, at 19 are going to be going to college. And his sphere of influence is not going to be a group of people prepared to buy homes, typically.
Typically is. Typically, the money is not found among the youth. Typically.
No.
Even in churches.
You won't find it with me.
Even in our churches, the youth do not give like older people give.
Right.
Churches are supported by older people.
Sure.
And even more, now, even after they're past the real estate buying age into retirement, that's the group that's the biggest supporter of Christian outreach. People in their retirement years. But for the real estate market, it's those who are able to buy a house and ready to buy a house, and et cetera, that middle-aged group, basically.
Right. Now, he will be good. He is a people person. He makes sure that he has an incredible amount of knowledge before he steps foot into whatever situation he's going to put himself into. So for that, he's going to be brilliant. I see an incredible future for you. But live a little, get a sphere of influence, and then, someday get married, have grandchildren, and then bring them home.
Add some stuff to the resume for the real
There you
estate
go.
company.
There you go.
Now, Josh, you're going to spend, what, 2 years in Canada in school?
Probably 4.
4, okay.
With the business degree.
Okay. And then you're coming back, you think?
I should be coming back, yes.
He will
All
be
right.
coming back.
Did you have to have a passport to get into Canada?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have to have a passport to go to Mexico?
If it's on a cruise, then no. But if it's like just traveling to Mexico, yes.
If you start in the United States and end in the United States, you don't need a passport? Is that how it works?
I did not need a passport to be able to get on the cruise ship. I
See,
did to be able to get on the plane to fly to LA to get on the cruise ship, but getting onto the cruise ship itself, I have the updated driver's license.
Okay.
And the updated driver's license has a little yellow star in the top right corner.
Yeah.
And it's now eligible to be used as a piece of ID.
Oh, yeah.
So it can be used for...
Canada, too. You don't need a passport to go into Canada if you've got that tag, isn't it?
I need it to go into Canada
Oh, do
still,
you?
just because that's flying direct into a country. But if you're just going there to visit and you're on a cruise, I don't think...
Well, might I add here that when I saw you and your buddies playing basketball, I wondered about that. When I saw you throwing footballs, and so many of them ended up in our backyard, for a time I wondered about that. But you overcame, obviously. And then I was observing from the vantage point of our deck, your dad teaching you to parallel park, and might I add, I'm amazed that you have one of those preferred driver's licenses.
Yeah.
He is an amazing driver, too.
Don't you think? I remember when our daughter.
Oh, gosh.
Oh my! What an adventure it was. We had this huge Cadillac. It was green. We called it the Green Frog. It was an old Cadillac, old, and she went downtown here in Springburg, USA. That's what I call my adopted hometown of Springfield, folks. This has been a different kind of happy hour. I haven't done any poetry yet, Matt.
No?
But maybe I'll get to it. Anyway, we went downtown for her to take her driver's test. Nancy's worried, and our daughter's name is Mickey. Now, Mickey, but she's a girl. I said, Nancy's worried. I said, don't worry about it. There's no way she's going to pass this driver's test. Well, Mickey was a straight-A student at Glendale. Mickey aced the written part of the test. 100%.
Wow.
I said, don't worry about it. She'll never pass the driver's thing. And she's taken the test in this huge. Old Cadillac. and it had the top on it was so bad, the padded top, I'd ripped it off, and Mickey had painted it
Green.
a terrible color.
It was green, wasn't it?
Green and silver sheet,
Yeah.
but with a brush.
Yes.
And then the bottom of it was rusted out on both sides. So I went to Kmart or someplace and I bought silver or chrome or silver colored tape about this wide and metal tape, and I taped along the sides of the bottom of the doors and everything on this. We called it the Green Frog, and it was interior. It wasn't a pretty thing, but it ran good. And Mickey's taking her driver's test in the Green Frog. I said, don't worry about it. She'll never pass that.
But how did she do?
She passed it with flying colors.
See, there you go.
And so we decided to let her drive us home then, you know.
Sounded like flying colors.
Yeah.
And we're going down
Lots of colors.
East Traffic Way, and she's staying so far over to this side. I'm in the driver's seat, and I'm afraid that the rear view mirror on my side is going to hit light poles on Traffic Way. And then later, she took a job in Lebanon, Missouri. Folks, for those of you in Germany or someplace, Lebanon is east of Springfield, 50 miles on an interstate. I'd been over there for something the other day, and we're on our
I've
way.
sold property out there.
And we're on our way back. We're headed west.
Pretty area.
And there's Mickey. We gave her the old Green Frog, and she's hunkered down. She's barely able to see over the steering wheel. She's got a bandana on her head, window rolled down, and she's motoring on to the
Bound for Lebanon.
big town, of, as they say in Lebanon. She was headed for Lebanon. That's the way they pronounce it. If you live over there, you got to say it right. What a good time we're having. Matt, we're having such a good time on the happy hour. We're going to take a little time off and let you give us a commercial about Natural Solutions Store. See, I can talk fast, too.
Can you? No way. All right, so. Oh, yeah. Jay's got to reset this little camera here.
Well, you do what you have to do. Just tell
But
us
you guys
about
can
Natural
still see me on
Solutions Store.
Facebook. There we go.
Pick a product.
There we go. Well, today's show is brought to you by. You remember what we were talking about? NaturalSolutionStore.bz.
You got it.
Now, the product I do want to talk to you guys about is one that is very near and very dear to Dr. Paul's heart.
That's right.
And mine, and it can be very near and dear to yours because it helps your heart.
That's right.
This product is called CoQ10 or coenzyme Q10. It's a substance similar to a vitamin found in every cell of the body. Your body makes CoQ10 and your cells use it to produce the energy your body needs for cell growth and maintenance. It also functions as an antioxidant, which protects the body from dangers caused by harmful molecules called free radicals. Now, this stuff it dissolves quickly, so you can start enjoying the effects of CoQ10 fast. So it's worth a shot. If you're taking a statin drug of any type,
That's
like
right.
I take a torvastatin for cholesterol, and it's heart medication. That also keeps your body from producing as much of the CoQ10 that it needs. So every doctor I've talked to says that this is a good supplement to be on. Be sure and talk to your doctor also if you're unsure. So go online, naturalsolutionstore.bz, and pick up a bottle of CoQ10 today. Back to you, Dr. Paul.
All right. Thank you very much, Matthew Dillon Pearson, and your sidekick, Jason Festus Cobb, my Gunsmoke boys over there.
Oh, is that Bonanza?
Oh, by the way, Matthew Dillon Pearson is going to be providing the music for our church service this coming Sunday afternoon. By the way, I know this is dated, but it's the first Sunday in February, and it is Super Bowl Sunday. Big deal. The big deal is 2 o'clock in Maranatha Village Chapel, First Acts Church meeting, and Matthew Dillon Pearson will have his guitar and his voice, and he will play and sing, and the boy is good. He's a lot better than Matt Dillon, I'll tell you.
Super Bowl doesn't start till 6:30, so you could be there.
That's right. See? Now, there's wisdom for you. Super Bowl doesn't really start till
I'll
6:30.
probably sleep through the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because after church, you
must
will
be
go
taping
home
it
and take a
then.
nap.
Because I'm working all night Saturday night.
There you go.
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go. But we're looking forward to hearing you. And we have another treat Sunday afternoon. Dennis Everson sent me a text, and he wants to have a little time on the program to talk about Acts Ministry and Acts Media Group and what they mean to him and First Acts Church. And I texted him back, and I said, certainly. And he let me know that he is so on fire about Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and First Acts Church. He said, it may take me a little time, and that's just fine, because if there's time left over, I'll give him a word of wisdom. If there's no time left over, word of wisdom will be good 2 weeks later.
That's true.
So 2 o'clock this Sunday afternoon, February 2, Maranatha Village on East Norton Road in the north part of Springburg, USA, east of the fairgrounds, east of what used to be Central Bible College, and you can't miss it. Big stone gates and a sign. Maranatha Village, beautiful chapel, seats 250 people or so. One of the most beautiful worship environments in this area or any place. So come on out and enjoy Matt's music. Now, let's get back to our guest here, and I'm so fascinated that any grandfather who has such an academic background could allow his grandson, instead of going into teaching medieval French law, would allow his grandson to go into business. Who wants to be a real estate person? What are you going to do before you get old enough to do real estate, Matt? Or Matt?
Josh.
Josh?
Kind of just looking around, wanting to look for something that's going to build my resume so that I have a good work experience, and something that's going to help me in something outside of the work. So I always want to be able to learn something that I can use outside of my work life, so I could use it at home.
I know you've worked as a young person in high school. Besides sitting there learning the real estate business kind of as an intern, what else have you done?
I worked at Chick-fil-A for about a year and a half.
Chick-fil-A, good place.
I was a manager over there for a little bit on the tail end. My problem that I was having was that I was
You have so
asked a
many
lot of hours. I was working 34 hours on top of going to work, or on top of going to school and football. So my daily routine would be waking up at around 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. I would have workouts at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then 5 to 7 I would work out. I would go to school from 7:50 to 2:50, and then I would have football practice from 3 to 5, and then I would work from 6 to 10.
Wow.
Too
Heavy-
much.
Way too much, way too much. I had restaurant experience when I was a kid, back before fast food was fast food. But I worked at one of the first drive-in restaurants. Was not drive-through, drive-in.
Ooh, Sonic.
No, it wasn't Sonic. It predated that. It was called the Pig and Bun. Pig, and then the letter N with an apostrophe, Pig and Bun, in
That sounds
Moberly,
good.
Missouri. And parking lots didn't have to be paved in those days, so it was a gravel parking lot. And I was a curb boy to start with, go out and take orders. And of course, we always had the young lovers who wanted to, they parked in the outfield. And then we'd get their order, and we'd take it up and at a window and leave it. And then they would fill the order inside and put it on a metal tray. And we'd take the tray out, stick it on the side of the car and all that, and hope for good tips. And we were open even in the wintertime. It was cold. But then I got promoted, went inside to work in the kitchen, and I peeled more potatoes than you could ever shake a stick at. And I mean, there's lots of sticks in this world, but there's not enough to
Cover them on potatoes.
And then later, I became basically the kitchen boss. And then I left there and helped a guy when he opened up his own drive-in restaurant. And I even gave it its name. Since it was by the entrance to the park, I called it the Parkway. And that stuck. And I was assistant manager there. So I had my cook experience, my restaurant experience, and of course you did a little bit of everything in those days. You washed the dishes and so forth, and it was great.
Did quite a bit myself.
Great experience. So, Josh, your lady friend up there in Canada, what is she studying?
She's going to Del Mar College to study cosmetology.
Okay, is she a Canadian?
Yes.
Now, if everything works out and you come back to the United States, you're going to bring her with you?
I would.
Yeah, okay. But she come with you willingly.
Yeah.
I think she would. I think she'd be open to it. She's coming to my prom here in April. She'll be here hopefully the 11th through the 20th. And one thing that I was talking to one of my friends about, she is a student at Paul Mitchell Beauty School, and I had talked to her, and she's going to get my girlfriend and I a full tour of the campus at Paul Mitchell Schools.
Wow.
So that'd be neat.
Yeah, it will be. That will be neat. You're having a lot of adventures, young man. Lots of adventures.
Well, I met her on a huge adventure. I met her on a cruise.
Whoa.
She's a dancer. Her mother teaches dancing, and they were invited to dance on the cruise ship,
Huh.
and that's how he met her.
And out of all those dozens of eligible young men, you somehow managed to get through the crowd.
It's those blue eyes and long eyelashes.
Was that what
I
did
don't
it?
know what it was. I didn't know what she saw in me, but
Oh,
I
you're a good kid.
I won.
I won.
Your work brittle at your age. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a term that comes back from my childhood. My mom thought if you weren't work brittle, you weren't worth your keep, you know. Folks, we're having a good time here on the Happy Hour. I want to remind you that the Happy Hour and all of Acts Ministry and Acts Media Group, they all need your support. And as they say on TV a lot, of course, prayer support first, then money. Okay, pray for us, but let's also remember that it does take some money to keep this equipment, to be on the air, and early in the season, early in the calendar year is the best time to start giving. Don't wait until the last minute because we have to operate all year long. So I'm starting my own telethon right now. Every time you see me in the Happy Hour, I'm going to be reminding you. Now, there's the best way in the world to give is just simply go online. And but if you want to send a check, you can send it to 1736. It's 1736 East Sunshine, Suite 216, Springfield, Missouri. Don't address it to Springburg. Springfield, Missouri. The zip code is 65804. Yes, Nancy.
So that means that anybody in Pakistan, France, or anywhere outside the United States, you could send your donation to that address, right?
Well, best thing they could do is go online and,
Okay.
And go through that, because I don't know what they would send us from Pakistan. I don't know what kind of currency they use. Anyway, do your best, whether you're overseas or in this country. Let's all put our shoulder to the wheel and be very supportive. We want to get some full-time people on board so that we can do more programming. Now then, Matt, is it time for a little poetry?
Well, if you're going to do your slow close, yes. Now's the time to start.
All right, my slow close.
Here comes the
And,
slow close, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, the slow close of the Happy Hour
Get ready.
broadcast with Dr. Paul, old Dr. Paul, and sweet little Miss Nancy. I have to tell you, you have been listening, if you're on radio, internet radio, you've been listening to the friendliest show on radio. If you've been watching us on Facebook, it's obviously the best look on Facebook. If you are a YouTuber, then I have to tell you, every rube can see us on YouTube. And if you like us on Twitter, then you're all a flitter. That's the message from the Happy Hour. We're going to be with you next week. And Matt, according to that clock there, we're really in good shape time-wise today. I want to thank our guest, Mary Secunda, and her son, Josh. This has been a very, very interesting time to kind of get a glimpse of the world through an 18-year-old who's already got his future planned out and had this tremendous background academically and in sports and a very interesting future planned. All of those who've been watching us, some of you may think, I wish I'd have been like that when I was his age.
Yeah,
Well,
I wished I had.
I wish I had.
see, they're all chiming in on that.
I'm glad I raised one. That's where if you can't do it, teach it, right?
And the rest of us who look back, I think back, and when I was Josh's age, it was Happy Days, like the sitcom with
I love that.
with Fonzie. We had our Fonzie. We had our Richie Cunningham,
Oh, the
Ralph
Cunninghams.
Mouth, and Potsy. I couldn't sing, so I couldn't be Potsy. I had trouble pretending to be tough, so I wasn't a good Fonzie. I couldn't snap my fingers, make anything happen.
Less than a minute.
Less than a minute. That's okay. I'm on the slow close here. And I couldn't, Ralph Mouth, I didn't want to be him. I really was clean cut. I was like Richie Cunningham.
Yep, I could see that.
I was the Richie Cunningham. In fact, I have some pictures when I was a kid that you'd almost say that has to be Richie Cunningham. Anyway, those were happy days, and this has been the Happy Hour with old Dr. Paul and sweet little Miss Nancy. We'll see you next Friday, same time. Great guest next week. We have a naturopathic doctor coming on next week, and she will enthrall you with what she knows about health care and et cetera. So stay tuned. See you next Friday. Bye-bye for today.
Bye-bye.